Welcome back to Montreal Connected. The pressure is on the Canadian men's hockey team to repeat as Olympic gold medalists, and no one's feeling that pressure quite like the goaltenders. So joining us now are Ted Bird and Sean Gordon to discuss. Gentlemen, what adjustments do goalies need to make from NHL play to Olympic hockey?
Marty Brodeur was asked about this actually when they were through, when New Jersey was through last, and talked a little bit about the difference of angles because, of course, the ice is wider and people are going to be shooting from different parts of the ice that you might be used to, and that it takes a little while for goaltenders to figure out exactly where they are. How long? For some of them, just a couple of practices. There's some goalies who just don't feel comfortable on international ice, so we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But other than that, look, I think hockey's hockey, and the players will tell you that the equipment is more or less the same. They're allowed to use slightly bigger equipment. Carey Price is not using slightly bigger equipment. I do believe that Roberto Luongo is using slightly larger equipment, and if Mike Smith has a brain in his head, he's going to use the biggest possible equipment that a guy 6'5", 6'6" can use. Beg your pardon in these games. But basically, those are the adjustments that they're looking at. And you know, most of these guys have played on international ice before, so it's not a huge deal.
I think another adjustment is getting used to playing with 7 would-be Norris Trophy winners playing in front of you on defense, which is that's an easy adjustment to make. But and especially when you get into games against lesser opponents like Norway and Austria, which are the Canadians' first 2 opponents, I don't know how busy the goaltenders are going to be.
That is actually something that might be underestimated, Ted, in that a lot of goalies really like to be really busy. And I don't know necessarily that if you're playing behind that Canadian team, I mean, where did all the rebounds go? It's like, what am I doing? Like you might face against Austria and Norway, you might face 15, might face 20 shots. And so it's one of those things where when the time comes for you to actually have to be there, it's harder if you're facing fewer shots. And Carey Price talks about that a lot. But again, these guys are pros. They're happy to be there. It's the best against the best. So I don't suspect to be too many problems.
With such a short tournament, Sean, what do you think the strategy is going to be when deciding their starting goalie?
It's a good question. I actually think that the Steve Yzermans and Babcocks of the world, these are very, very conservative hockey people. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to make sure that the players that they use are proven under pressure. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the best guy or the hottest guy, but I think that they want to show some deference to the veterans, which is why they're going to be giving Luongo some playing time, even though Price has clearly been the best Canadian goaltender for the last 2-3 weeks going into the Olympics.
I'm a little bit of an opposite mind. I think that I can't believe that they would go in without a plan and that they would think, well, let's just see how it works out in the first 2 games.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. They have a plan, but I think the plan is to share it, and I think that they're going to wait and see who they think looks best. And I think that my point is, if it were me, I just would have said, I'm going to go with the best guy and the most talented guy, and guess what? It's going to be Carey Price. But I also get to watch Carey Price a lot more than a lot of these guys.
Well, we have that built-in bias because we're in Montreal and we watch Carey Price day in and day out. But, Mike Babcock and Steve Yzerman and company hear from people who watch Price day in and day out. And greater hockey minds than mine have said there's been a consensus. Even last year when he was struggling, there was a consensus looking forward to this year that they want it to be his time. They want him to be the guy, and he's given them every reason with his play for the Canadians this year to make him the guy. So my hunch is that they want Price to be the guy, and that Luongo, with his experience at the international level, is a great ace to have in the hole if it doesn't work out with Price.
Quickly now, because you both touched on this already, and Canada does face 2 weaker teams in Austria and Norway to start this tournament. What do you think Coach Babcock can learn from his goalies from facing these lesser opponents?
You know what? I think it's just going to be attitudinal, body language, puck management. How do they look, right? If there's a sense that there's any hesitation on the part of either guy, then I think it's not going to end well for whoever it is that shows the hesitation.
Quickly, Ted, do you agree?
I do, and I think they probably would have benefited more from facing stronger competition in the first 2 games, because I think the whole team faces an enormous adjustment after the first 2 games going up against Finland and then on into the medal round.
Well, thank you both for joining us. Stay tuned. More Montreal Connected coming up after this break.